I don't even know where to start because honestly, my head's still kind of spinning from everything that's happened. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years now. We live in a quiet suburb, typical American couple, the kind that everyone assumes is blissfully happy. But the truth is, things have been off for a while. Small stuff at first, little nagging fights, her snapping at me over dumb things, but I just brushed it off, figured it was stress or something. I was working long hours, trying to keep everything afloat, and she's always been a bit bitchy, so I thought maybe she was just under pressure too. Things started feeling even more strained when I noticed she was spending a lot more time outside, especially around our neighbor's house. That's Mr. Johnson, an elderly guy, probably in his late 70s. I helped him with yard work here and there when I had the time. Lisa started going over there more often, claiming she was helping him bake cookies or whatever. I didn't think much about it at first, just the usual neighborhood stuff. But then I saw her laughing with him in a way I'd never seen before. She's a sharp woman. She's not the kind to be overly friendly with just anyone, especially not with a guy that age. I figured maybe she was just being nice, or maybe it was some kind of neighborly thing. But then I noticed her phone. She's always got her phone glued to her hand, but she'd hide it when I was around, or she'd be super secretive about texts and calls. At first, I thought maybe she was chatting with her friends or something, but the messages were different. Flirty even, nothing explicit yet but enough to make me uncomfortable. I'd catch her deleting stuff or locking her phone when I walked in the room. It was small stuff, but it kept nagging at me. Then one day I was helping Mr. Johnson do some yard work, nothing unusual, just a routine Saturday. And his granddaughter, Emily, showed up unexpectedly. She's a smart, tech-savvy girl, probably in her early 20s. She's always been friendly, polite, but that day, she looked kind of serious. She pulled me aside, out of earshot of her grandpa, and showed me her phone. I figured she was gonna say thanks for helping around the yard, but instead she pulled out her phone and played a video. It was from Mr. Johnson's smart doorbell. I'd heard of those things, but I'd never looked into it myself. Emily looked at me with a grim expression and said, "Mike, I think you need to see this." The footage was from last week at night. I saw Lisa in the video. She was sneaking into Mr. Johnson's backyard in her pajamas, acting like she was just going to check on the plants or whatever. But then she stayed behind a tree and started kissing him, deep and slow, like they were hiding it from the world. My stomach sank. I watched her slip her hand into his pocket, then kiss him again, right there in his backyard, like they didn't care who saw. I froze. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My wife, who always claimed she loved me, was out there with an old man, my neighbor, no less, and they were clearly doing more than just helping him with his yard. Emily looked at me, her face full of concern, and said, "I didn't want to believe it, but I think your wife's been sneaking over there for weeks. I've seen her go in and out of his house late at night." I felt like the ground had opened beneath me. I knew she was tense lately, but I never imagined she'd be cheating on me, let alone with some old guy's granddaughter catching her on camera. It was like a punch to the gut. I didn't say anything for a few moments. I just stared at the screen, watching her lips press against his. The betrayal hit me hard. This wasn't just a fling, it looked like something serious, something she was hiding from me for a long time. I told Emily I'd handle it, thanked her for showing me, and she left quietly. I was left standing there, staring at the footage, feeling like I was in some nightmare. My mind was racing. How long had this been going on? Why Mr. Johnson? Did she even love me anymore? All those questions spun around in my head, but I knew one thing: this wasn't going to just blow over. I had to confront her, and I had to do it soon, before whatever was happening got even worse. I went home that night, feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind kept going over everything I'd just seen on Emily's phone. It felt surreal, like I was watching some twisted movie where I was the victim, only I was right there in the middle of it. I kept asking myself how I missed all these signs: her sneaking around, her secret phone, the way she'd get defensive when I asked about her whereabouts. I never thought my wife, Lisa, would betray me like this. We had fights, sure, but I always thought that was just normal marriage stuff. I never imagined she'd be sneaking around with an old man, let alone lying to me about it. As soon as I got inside, I looked around our house like I was trying to find some hidden camera or sign that I'd missed. I felt numb but also boiling with anger. I had to get to the bottom of it, so I decided I'd wait until morning to confront her. Sleep was impossible that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her kissing Mr. Johnson. Every time I blinked, the images replayed like some terrible movie. It was like my heart was breaking, and I didn't even know how to fix it or if I should even try. The next morning I woke up early, feeling sick. I knew I had to talk to her, no more hiding, no more pretending. I brewed some coffee, trying to keep my hand steady. When Lisa finally came out of the bedroom, she looked annoyed, like I was bothering her. She was already dressed for work, her makeup perfect, her attitude bitchy as usual. I confronted her right then and there. I told her I knew everything about her sneaking over there, the footage, the lies. Her face twisted into this annoyed, defensive sneer. "Mike, what the hell are you talking about? You've got no proof of that. You're overreacting. You're just paranoid," she snapped, flipping her hair. I couldn't believe how she was lying so easily, so smoothly, like she had rehearsed it. She kept saying she was just helping Mr. Johnson, that I was reading too much into things, that maybe I was jealous or insecure. She threw in a few insults, calling me pathetic for not trusting her, and kept insisting she was innocent. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I told her I'd seen the footage that Emily had shown me. Her face changed then, her false calm cracked for a moment. She looked furious, like I'd invaded her personal space. She yelled at me, calling it all a lie, saying Emily probably fabricated it, or maybe I was just losing my mind. She told me I was overthinking everything, that she was tired of my accusations, and that I needed to stop being so insecure. That was her go-to line: "You're just insecure," like I was the one with the problem here. I felt like I was losing my mind. I'd never seen her this angry, this aggressive. She was so dismissive, like she was just waiting for me to give up and walk away. But I couldn't. I knew the truth now, and I knew I had to do something. The pain was overwhelming, but what hurt even more was her complete denial, her lying to my face, trying to gaslight me into doubting what I saw. I didn't want to believe it was real, but deep down I knew. It was all there, clear as day. That afternoon, I started packing a bag. I didn't want to stay in that house anymore, not after what I'd found out. I couldn't sleep in the same bed with her, knowing she'd been sneaking around with Mr. Johnson, lying, hiding things. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry. How could she do this to me? After everything we went through, all the years we shared. It's like the person I loved turned into a stranger, a liar. I kept asking myself if I was just a fool for not seeing it earlier, or if she had been planning this all along, right under my nose. I decided I wasn't going to let her control the narrative anymore. I told her I was leaving for a while, that I needed space to think. And as I packed, I made a silent vow: I wasn't going to let her get away with this. Whatever it took, I was going to find a way to get some justice, some sense of closure. I didn't know what my next move was going to be, but I felt certain that I'd never trust her again. The betrayal was too deep, and I was done playing nice. I just wanted to get out of that house and figure out what the hell my life was supposed to look like now. Leaving that night was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I packed a bag quickly, grabbed some essentials, and just walked out without saying much. I didn't even bother to tell her where I was going. Honestly, I was too pissed, too hurt, and too overwhelmed to think clearly. I just needed space, time to breathe, to process what I'd seen and what I knew. My mind kept circling around the video, her sneaking around in the dark, her lying about everything, like she'd been hiding a whole other life from me. I stayed with a friend for a few days, trying to get my head straight, but it was impossible. Every moment I wasn't busy, I was reliving that footage, remembering her sneer, her fake tears, her lies. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs. I thought we had a good marriage, at least decent. And now I found out she'd been cheating on me with an old man, my neighbor, who I'd gone out of my way to help after he got sick. I felt like such a sucker. I couldn't help but feel angry at Mr. Johnson too. Yeah, he's old. Maybe lonely, but that doesn't give him the right to cheat with his granddaughter's neighbor's wife. I kept thinking about how she'd been over there so often, giggling and acting all friendly, pretending to be just a good neighbor, when behind my back she was doing God knows what. I was trying to understand how someone I loved could be so cold, so deceitful, so damn good at lying. One thing that kept bothering me: why? Why was she doing this? Was I not enough? Did she get bored with me? Or was she just intentionally trying to hurt me? I kept replaying all our fights, all the times I thought I was just being paranoid. Turns out I wasn't paranoid, I was just blind. She had been sneaking around right under my nose, probably for months. I started thinking about what I'd do next. I couldn't stay in that house knowing what she'd done, knowing she'd lied so easily. I didn't want to be the cuckold, the fool who got played. But I also didn't want to just storm back and create a scene. I needed a plan, something precise, something that would hit her where it hurts. I wasn't planning to just walk away, not without making her regret it. I was angry enough to want revenge, but I knew I had to be smart about it. I remembered Emily showing me that footage. That was my leverage. I also knew Lisa was a bitch. She'd probably deny everything, even if I brought proof. But I had a feeling I could turn her lies back on her. Maybe embarrass her, make her see how much I knew. That's when I started planning. I wanted to catch her in a lie, expose her in front of everyone, make her feel small, just like she made me feel. But first I had to keep cool. I couldn't let her see how much she'd hurt me, not directly. I had to be calm, calculated. I started thinking about who I could trust: my best friend, my sister, maybe even Emily again. I needed someone who'd help me get this all sorted out without making it worse. Because once I had the proof, she wouldn't be able to deny it anymore. And I was going to make sure she paid for what she'd done. I wasn't just going to walk away. I wanted her to feel the way I felt: betrayed, humiliated, and utterly broken. Deep down, I knew this was going to change everything. I'd loved Lisa, God, I really did. But now I saw her for what she truly was: a liar, a cheat, and someone who didn't even care enough to hide it properly. The thought of trying to save the marriage made me sick. I didn't see how we could come back from this, not after what I'd seen. The trust was shattered, and honestly, I don't think she deserved my forgiveness. All I knew was that I wasn't going to let her get away with it without consequences. She made her choice, and now I was going to make sure she faced the fallout. After a few days of feeling like I was in some kind of daze, I finally decided I had to act. Sitting around sulking and stewing in my own anger wasn't doing anything. I needed to get ahead of this, get some control back. First thing I did was make some calls. People I trusted, guys I knew wouldn't judge me, and who had a little experience in digging up dirt when necessary. I was determined to find out everything I could, even if it meant going behind Lisa's back. I knew she'd deny everything if I confronted her again without solid proof, and I needed her to feel cornered for her to really crack. I also spent some time analyzing her phone. She deleted all the obvious stuff, but even the best liars forget to erase everything. I managed to recover some texts she'd thought were gone, messages with Mr. Johnson, little flirtatious comments, even some pictures she'd sent him. Nothing explicit, yet, but enough to prove they'd been communicating behind my back for weeks, maybe longer. It made my blood boil all over again. Even now, I was furious thinking about how she'd been lying through her teeth, pretending everything was normal while planning her affair in secret. I kept digging, and I found out that Mr. Johnson had been giving her a lot of attention, more than just helping around the yard. Turns out he'd been calling her, texting her, inviting her over for helping him with his garden. But the truth was, they'd been meeting up when I wasn't around. That night I saw in the footage, it wasn't just a one-off thing. It was ongoing, and she'd been hiding it from me out of some sick sense of entitlement, or maybe just pure selfishness. I started thinking about how I was going to confront her again, but this time I had facts. Cold, hard proof. I knew she'd try to deny it again, but I was ready. I also decided I'd need some kind of backup. Not just friends, but someone who could help me expose her, maybe get her to admit it publicly if necessary. I didn't want to just blow everything up without a plan. I wanted her to feel exposed, to realize that I wasn't some naive idiot who'd stay quiet. Meanwhile, Lisa was still acting like nothing was wrong, bitching at me, throwing her tantrums, trying to gaslight me into doubting what I knew. She kept insisting I was paranoid, insecure, or crazy. But I knew better now. I saw the footage, I had the texts, I had Emily's story. She was caught fair and square. I was so angry I couldn't even look at her directly anymore. Every time she tried to deny it, I just kept thinking, "You're a liar. You've been lying for months, and now I'm going to make you pay." One night I decided I'd have enough of her bullshit. I called her on a night she was supposed to be working late, and I told her I knew everything. Her reaction was priceless. She froze for a second, then slammed the phone down, cursed me out, and hung up. That was just the beginning. I knew she was panicking, and I loved it. The cat was out of the bag now, and I was ready to push her even further. I wanted her to see that I knew her game, that I wasn't some fool anymore. From this point on, she was on thin ice, and I wasn't going to let her keep lying her way out of it. I started planning how to confront her face to face with all my evidence ready. I wanted her to admit it, to see her squirm, because at the end of the day, I couldn't live in a marriage built on lies. I deserved the truth, and I was going to get it. It was clear she thought she could get away with this, that I'd never find out. But now, she was about to learn that I wasn't so easy to fool. And once I had her cornered, I knew I'd have the power to decide what came next. I wasn't just going to walk away from this. No, I was going to make sure she paid for what she'd done, and that I'd get some kind of justice, no matter what. The day I decided to confront her was one of the most tense moments I've ever lived through. I made sure I had all my evidence gathered, screenshots of her messages, the footage from Mr. Johnson's doorbell, Emily's confirmation, everything. I knew if I just said, "I know you're cheating," she'd deny it again, spin some crazy story, and try to manipulate her way out of it. So I planned to lay it all out in a way she couldn't deny or wiggle free from. I invited her over to a quiet restaurant, pretending it was just a normal date night. She was acting like she was the queen of the world, bitchy, dismissive, snapping at the waitstaff like she didn't care. That's what I loved about her, her arrogance. I played it cool, kept my composure, and waited until we had the check in front of us. Then I pulled out my phone, connected it to the table's speaker, and played the video from her sneaking into Mr. Johnson's backyard. Her face immediately went pale, then flushed with anger and shock. She tried to brush it off, saying it was just a misunderstanding, that she was helping him out, that I was crazy for even thinking about all this. Her voice was high-pitched, defensive, and she started crying fake tears, trying to guilt-trip me into backing down. But I wasn't having it. I hit play on some of the texts I'd recovered, messages where she was clearly flirting, inviting him over, talking about secrets they shared. I watched her face twist in real time, her facade cracking. Then I told her, "You've been lying to my face for months. I've got proof, Lisa, all of it. You cheated on me with Mr. Johnson, our neighbor, while pretending to be this innocent wife." Her eyes widened, then she started cursing, denying everything, trying to gaslight me again. She said I was jealous, that I was imagining things, that I was just insecure. She even spun some bullshit about how I was controlling her, how I didn't trust her, like that was her excuse for everything. I felt an incredible mix of rage and sadness. Rage because she'd betrayed me, lied to my face, and cheated, and sadness because I still loved her, or at least I thought I did. But every time she opened her mouth trying to deny it, I saw the truth clear as day. She was a liar and a manipulator. I knew I couldn't stay with someone who didn't respect me enough to tell the truth. I told her, "It's over. I can't do this anymore." I had decided that day, whether she liked it or not, I wasn't going to stay in this marriage. I was done with her lies, her manipulations, her betrayal. I told her I was leaving and I was going to file for divorce. Her ego was shattered right then. She realized I'd caught her, that I'd finally see her true face. As I stood up, she started to scream, saying I was crazy, that I'd ruined everything, that I was making a big mistake. But I didn't care. I was numb but resolute. I knew I'd never look at her the same way again, and honestly, I didn't want to. That moment, I felt like I was finally taking control, taking back my life from someone who had turned into a stranger. I left her sitting there, crying and screaming, knowing she'd be sorry for what she'd done. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat there, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything. How I got here, how I let her lie to me for so long, and how it was all coming to an end. I knew I'd be better off without her, even if it hurt like hell. I learned that trust is fragile and once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. But I also learned that sometimes you have to burn everything down to rebuild again. I was ready to start over, even though part of me still felt the ache of betrayal. The only thing I knew for sure, she wasn't going to get away with this. Not without consequences. And I was damn sure I was going to make her regret ever crossing me. In the days that followed, I felt like I was walking around in a fog, but at the same time, I was finally starting to breathe again. The house felt emptier, colder, like it had lost all its warmth. I moved out completely, packing up my stuff and staying somewhere else. No point in dragging out the pain more than necessary. I knew I couldn't stay in that house, not with her lying and sneaking around. Honestly, the only thing I felt was a strange mix of relief and anger. Relief that I finally uncovered the truth, and anger that I'd let her get away with so much for so long. The divorce is in process now, and honestly, I don't even care about the legal details anymore. It's more about finally closing that chapter of my life. I've started therapy trying to understand how I let this happen, how I trusted someone who was so ready to betray me. There's a lot of bitterness, sure, but also a strange sense of clarity. I realize I was blind for a long time, giving her the benefit of the doubt, thinking maybe she'd come around, maybe she still loved me. But she didn't. She wanted something else, something I couldn't give her, an affair, a secret life, a lie. Looking back, I see all the red flags now. The secret phone, her secretive behavior, the late nights, her dismissiveness. I should have listened to my gut, but I was too busy trying to hold everything together. Now I see it all clearly, and honestly, I don't regret uncovering the truth. If anything, it's a wake-up call for everyone out there. Don't ignore the signs. If someone is hiding things, lying, sneaking around, they're not worth it. Because the pain of betrayal is worse than any breakup, and trust me, it takes a long time to heal. I've learned a lot from this experience. Mainly that sometimes the only way to truly move on is to face the ugly truth head-on. Because hiding, pretending, or hopping it's all a mistake only makes things worse. I also learned that revenge isn't about revenge at all. It's about taking control of your life again, reclaiming your dignity, and making sure the person who betrayed you understands the damage they've done. I didn't do anything rash. I played it smart. I gathered my evidence, and I let her hang herself with her own lies. That was the best revenge I could have hoped for. Most importantly, I've realized I deserve better. I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who actually cares about me, not someone who cheats and lies. I'm not perfect, I have my flaws, but I know now that I won't accept betrayal anymore. I'll rebuild my life piece by piece, and I'll come out of this stronger. Because in the end, losing someone like Lisa was painful, but it also freed me from a lie that was slowly destroying me. So here's my message to anyone out there going through something similar. Don't ignore the signs. Trust your instincts, and don't let anyone make you feel crazy for wanting the truth. Because the truth, no matter how painful, is the only way to truly heal. And trust me, better days are ahead, even if they don't seem like it right now. I've learned that from my own broken heart, and I hope anyone reading this can find the strength to face their own.